All right, so picture this. You're prepping for a huge GE interview, the kind where you really, really want the job, right? You've got the skills, you've got the experience, but how do you knock those curveball questions out of the park and really stand out? Well, that's what we're diving into today, specifically for all you aspiring green ICT consultants out there.
And what's fascinating about this field, right, is that it's not just about being a tech whiz, it's about understanding the bigger picture of sustainability and how technology can be a force for good.
It's like this whole other level of expertise. So we're going deep into some real-life interview questions, the kind RoleCatcher pulled from their massive database of over 120,000 examples. We've got these incredible AI tools to help tailor your answers. But first, let's break down the why behind the questions. Ready to jump in?
Absolutely, let's do it.
Okay, first up, a question that seems simple but can really trip people up. What inspired you to pursue a career in green ICT consultancy? I feel like this one's all about showing your passion.
It is. Think of it like your elevator pitch. You've got like, what, 60 seconds to convey your genuine enthusiasm for this work. And the cool thing is, the career guide actually highlights how much demand there is for these roles right now. So if you can tie your personal motivation to that larger trend, that's huge.
So instead of just saying, I care about the environment, it's more like, I've always been passionate about sustainability, and seeing how much the tech industry impacts the environment, I knew this was where I could make a real difference, especially since the field is blowing up right now.
Exactly. And to make it even more powerful, you can weave in specifics like, was there a particular project that sparked your interest? Did a certain person working in the field inspire you? The career guide has these awesome profiles of green ICT consultants at different stages. Maybe one of their stories clicks with you.
Oh, that's smart. Like, I read about this company that totally revamped its data center to be energy efficient. I was like, that's what I want to do. And I think RoleCatcher's AI can actually help you find those kinds of stories based on your own background and the jobs you're going for.
Absolutely. It can analyze your resume, see what you've done, and then suggest relevant experiences that will really showcase your skills and passions.
It's like having a research assistant for your career.
Uh,
Okay, next question. This one trips people up all the time. How do you stay up to date with the latest trends and developments in green ICT? Because let's face it, this field moves faster than, well, a self-driving electric car.
Right. Staying current is key, and this question is about proving you're not just keeping pace, but actively seeking out the latest and greatest. The knowledge and learning section in the career guide actually has some good starting points if you're feeling stuck.
Yeah, it mentions things like attending workshops, subscribing to industry newsletters, even participating in online forums. But it's got to be more than just checking boxes, don't you think?
Definitely. Like, are you part of a professional organization like the ACM? Do you follow thought leaders on LinkedIn or Twitter? Get specific. Did you attend a webinar on circular economy principles and data center design last week? Tell them.
That's so much stronger than I read a lot of articles online.
Mm.
It shows you're really plugged into the green ICT world. Plus, if you're using RoleCatcher, you can set up alerts for relevant industry news and connect with other pros.
Exactly. Show them that commitment to continuous learning. And while we're on that topic, the career guide also mentions those certifications, CGITP, CEM, things like that, can really set you apart.
Oh, for sure. Having those credentials is like saying, I'm not messing around, I'm invested in this.
Hmm.
Okay, ready for question number 3. This one's about putting all that experience on the table. Can you describe a project you worked on that involved implementing sustainable ICT practices? Time to brag a little.
Yes. This is your moment. And remember the STAR method. Situation, task, action, result. Don't just tell them what you did, tell them a story.
Right. Like, don't just say, I helped reduce server energy consumption. Tell them about the challenges, the creative solutions you came up with, and the impact you had. I bet the career guide section on typical responsibilities could spark some ideas for relevant projects to talk about.
Definitely. It breaks down what kind of experience someone at your level might have. Were you involved in server virtualization, implementing energy-efficient hardware, choosing sustainable vendors?
And this is where RoleCatcher's AI comes in clutch. It can actually analyze the job description and show you which of your past projects align best with what they're looking for.
It's like having a secret weapon to help you craft the most compelling narrative. You know what's funny? Being a green ICT consultant, it really is about so much more than just being a tech expert.
Oh, absolutely. It's like you're the sustainability champion, right? Like you're bringing everyone along with you on this mission to make tech better for the planet.
That's a great way to put it. And that actually leads perfectly into our next question, which is all about getting people on board. RoleCatcher flagged this one as a potential deal breaker, so listen up. How do you approach stakeholder engagement when implementing sustainable ICT practices?
Ooh, yeah. This one's tricky. It's like, how do you balance the tech talk with, like, talking to the higher-ups? What's that secret sauce?
Well, the key thing to remember is you're not just presenting solutions, right? You're
Mhm.
trying to get everyone on the same page. And the career guide, it really emphasizes how collaborative this role is.
Mhm.
You have to be able to break down these complex ideas so that everyone understands, no matter who you're talking to.
So less about we need to migrate to a more energy-efficient server architecture, and more about this new server setup will not only be better for the environment, but it'll save us money too.
Exactly. Hit them with the why. And don't be shy about using real-world examples. Did you ever have to, really convince a department head to adopt a new system? Or did you find a creative way to address everyone's concerns, like both the environmental ones, A&D, the budget ones? Those stories are gold.
It's like saying, I've been in the trenches, I've dealt with these exact challenges, and I know how to navigate them. And that's something you can really play up in the interview, especially if you're using RoleCatcher to keep track of all your projects. You've basically got like a highlight reel of all your wins ready to go.
Right, it's all organized and ready to share.
Speaking of wins, let's talk about proving those wins, because it's not enough to just say you're making a difference, right? You got to back it up with cold, hard data. And that brings us to our next question. How do you measure the impact of sustainable ICT practices?
Yes. This is where your analytical skills really come in. Think about the key metrics that matter in this field. Are you reducing energy consumption? Are you shrinking that carbon footprint? Are you saving the company money? Are you improving their waste management practices?
Don't be afraid to get those spreadsheets out, right?
Exactly. Saying we slashed energy consumption by 15% is way more powerful than we made things more efficient. Numbers talk.
Numbers don't lie. Okay,
Oh.
get ready for this one because RoleCatcher says it comes up a lot, and it's a tough one. How do you balance sustainability goals with other business objectives when implementing ICT solutions?
Ah, the classic dilemma. It's a balancing act for sure. This question is about showing that you get it, you understand that sustainability doesn't exist in a bubble, right?
Right, because sometimes it feels like, doing what's best for the environment might not be what's best for the bottom line. At
Uh,
least that's how some people see it.
For sure. But a good green ICT consultant can find solutions that are both sustainable A&D, good for business. Maybe you helped implement a cloud-based system that reduced the company's physical server footprint. So less waste, less energy use, and they save money on hardware. Win-win.
See, that's what I'm talking about. It shows you're thinking about the whole picture, not just one piece of the puzzle.
Exactly, holistic thinking. That's what makes a green ICT consultant so valuable.
All right, time for a question that tends to pop up in different forms, but it always comes back to this. How do you manage the risks associated with implementing sustainable ICT practices?
Okay, so this one is all about being proactive. Any new initiative, it comes with risks, right? And you need to show them that you're already thinking about those risks and you have a plan to handle them.
So not just knowing what could go wrong, but having a strategy to keep things on track.
Exactly. The career guide, it actually mentions some common frameworks you could use, like ISO 31000. That one's a set of guidelines specifically for risk management. Have you ever used anything like that in your work?
I was just about to ask you the same thing.
I have, and it's incredibly helpful. But more than just name dropping a framework, right? You want to walk them through your thought process. So maybe you can talk about a risk assessment you did on a past project. Did you run into any unexpected roadblocks during implementation, and how did you handle those?
It's like showing them, hey, I'm not just checking boxes, I'm really thinking about this stuff.
Yes.
Hmm.
And don't forget about communication, right? Can you explain those risks in a way that both tech people and non-tech people will understand? That's super important.
Right, because not everyone speaks server or cloud migration.
Right.
You got to break it down. And speaking of breaking things down, let's talk about finding those innovative solutions. Okay, so let's talk about those think outside the box moments because those can really make or break an interview. How do you usually handle a question like, can you describe a time you had to find a creative solution to a sustainability challenge? I feel like that one really puts you on the spot.
Yeah, it definitely tests your ability to think on your feet, right? But it's also a chance to show them you're not afraid of a challenge and that you're genuinely passionate about finding solutions. And it doesn't have to be this massive company-saving initiative either. Sometimes it's the small, scrappy solutions that really make an impact.
Right, like maybe you found a way to repurpose old equipment instead of just like tossing it in the landfill.
Exactly. Or you convinced your team to switch to a more sustainable supplier for office supplies. Or maybe you even spearheaded a whole employee education program about sustainable practices.
Right, because even those little things add up. Okay, and that actually reminds me of something else that comes up a lot in the career guide, integrating those sustainable practices into the overall company strategy.
Hmm.
Because it's not enough to just like have a recycling bin, right?
Totally. And you're right, it often comes up in interviews as how do you ensure that sustainable ICT practices are integrated into the overall business strategy? They want to know you're not just thinking about quick fixes, you're thinking big picture, long-term change.
Yeah, like you're not there to just swap out light bulbs. You want to help the company become truly sustainable from the ground up.
Exactly. So be ready to talk about any experience you have with developing and implementing actual sustainability policies, or even just like championing those practices within your team, being that voice for change.
Love that.
Mm.
Okay, one last question that RoleCatcher flagged as super common, and it's kind of a doozy. Can you tell me about a time you had to balance competing priorities while working on a project? Because let's face it, that's like everyday life, right?
Oh, for sure. It's all about showing you can juggle, that you can prioritize, that you can stay calm under pressure, especially in a fast-paced field like this one, right?
Yeah, because you've got deadlines, you've got budgets, and you're trying to save the planet all at the same time.
Exactly. So think about a project where you had to make some tough calls. Maybe you had to prioritize certain tasks over others or find creative ways to make everyone happy. Or maybe you had to push back on a stakeholder because what they wanted wasn't environmentally responsible.
Oh, that's a good one. It shows you're not afraid to stand up for what you believe in. And this is where having those concrete examples really helps, right? Like, remember that time when RoleCatcher actually helps you build out like this whole story toolbox so you're not caught off guard in the interview.
It's like having a cheat sheet for your career. And the more prepared you are, the more confident you'll feel. And that confidence, that's what they'll remember.
So true.
Okay.
Okay, before we wrap up, any final words of wisdom for our listeners who are gearing up for those Green ICT interviews?
Just this. Let your passion shine through. This field needs passionate people, people who are ready to make a difference. Be knowledgeable, be engaging, and most importantly, be yourself.
Yes, love that. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive, everyone. And a huge thank you to RoleCatcher for all the incredible resources. Seriously, if you're looking to land your dream job in Green ICT, check them out. Until next time, keep those green dreams alive.